All right, everybody, welcome back to Socedo Live, episode 19. Today I've got a very special guest with me here at Socedo HQ. Dave Malcom is joining us in the hot seat to talk about why it's important to talk to your customers. So to give you a little background, Dave and I go way back to 2012. He's a close mentor and advisor, but he was the guy that accepted us into our TechStars program back in 2012. And the drumbeat that I got from Dave from day one was talk to your customers, talk to your customers, talk to your customers. Before we came into TechStars, we were just building something for ourselves. We were building a system for our own agency. We weren't talking to customers, and Dave really brought that to the forefront. So, Dave, why? Why do we need to talk to customers? Why was that important? Why is that the thing that you preach to startup owners everywhere?
Well, you know, for me, it started back in my early career, and ironically, I was at Microsoft.
Yeah.
In the late 80s, early 90s, and although, you know, today you might find this hard to believe, but back then we did a ton of work with our customers.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, I was working on the Excel product in the Office line of applications, and we spent a lot of time going out, meeting with customers, trying to understand what it is they were trying to do. And what I found as a young guy at a company with all these brilliant engineers is that when I went into a meeting and we were fighting over what features to add, if it was just me and my opinion,
yep,
I typically would lose. But when I walked in and said, well, you know, I've actually visited 12 customers, or here's some data from some research we just did that shows that these are the kinds of things our customers want, I was able to really change the direction of the conversations towards a customer-centric point of view. So fast forward that to the TechStars experience that you went through. Before that, probably about a year before that, I was exposed to Steve Blank,
Mm-hmm.
Noted entrepreneur who has made a real impact on the entrepreneurial ecosystem with his thinking around product market fit and how to build and scale a startup into a real business. And I was immediately, I was drawn to every word he said, just because it became, from my experience at Microsoft, I was able to tie that into a startup and realize just how important it was to build something
Mm-hmm.
that people actually wanted.
So, you know, that's the Microsoft story, right? You're kind of going and talking to customers to convince your team. I'm the founder of a startup. I don't have to convince anybody, right? Like, I can go build whatever I want, and there's the Steve Jobs school of thought, which is like, I know my customer better than they know each other. So why, for a startup founder in those early days, why is it important? What happens if you don't talk to customers?
Well, if you don't talk to customers, in about 99% of the cases, you build something that no one really cares about.
Yeah.
And you end up wasting your time. From the Connect Accelerator, which was the class before the accelerator
Yep.
you were in, one of the companies in that group, Gesture, had built this amazing technology for controlling, using your hands, controlling interfaces in a surgery
Sure.
setting. A great thing for surgeons, so they don't have to scrub out and mess with mice and things like that. They can just scroll through things using hand gestures.
Right.
Fantastic, but what he found out was that when he actually started talking to customers, that he spent a lot of time building something that, in fact, didn't provide enough value
Right.
for them to be able to make money on that product. So if the value proposition isn't strong enough for you to get somebody to change the way they're currently doing things, then you're just wasting your time.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you don't want to go too far down the wrong path. I think we all want a product that people want, that people need. But how do you actually go about that? I mean, one of the things that I've found when talking to customers, especially in the early stages, and even today, we'll go to our customers and we'll ask them, hey, do you want these insights on what your competitors are doing? And people always seem to be jazzed up about new things and new ideas. Like, how can you tell? How can you tell when it's actually something that they
really
need?
care about?
Yeah.
So, especially here in the Northwest, people are really kind. And even if they're not your friends, they don't want to upset you so
Sure.
much. And so you'll get a lot of, oh, that's interesting, that's great, that's fantastic, okay. Until they are actually leaning over the table, asking you if they can get that set of features or that product today, you probably don't have something that's very interesting for them.
Got it.
Right. So the enthusiasm really needs to come across
right.
in a very strong way for you to have gotten to the point where you've got a value prop that makes a huge difference
right.
for these guys.
Right.
So often, people will come up with ideas that they think provide a lot of value, and it can be really depressing actually to go out and talk to customers that you think you're building a product for, and they come back and they're kind of neutral,
right? Right.
Or enthused, but not really.
Right.
They're just being kind. So you really, in essence, until they're at that point where they're just, I've got to have this
right.
now. You probably don't have something
right.
that matters.
It's almost like actions speak louder than words. Like I've found so many times when we're doing customer development and talking to customers, what they're saying is yes, they're interested in it, but you're not totally seeing them, like you said, leaning over the table or taking action or coming to you and following up and being like, when can I get this, right?
Yes.
Like looking at their actions. So that's definitely something when you're talking to customers to look for. I think one of the reasons why a lot of people don't do customer development is because it's hard. Like, how many people do you have to talk to? Who should you be talking to? How do you go about it?
So, a couple things. Number one, how should you go about it? A lot of people, say, well, I can't go ask my customers what they want. And the fact is, you probably should, because customers, a lot of times they can't articulate what they need.
Right.
But what customers can do is they can tell you what jobs they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Number one, that's, they're at work, they're doing their thing, they're trying to accomplish a certain set of tasks and jobs. They can usually talk to you about what's painful in their experience doing those jobs. And they can also talk to you about what their gains are. Jobs, pains, gains are the three areas I like to talk about in terms of customer development. Okay, well, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals here? Discussing those things with a handful of people is really important. And the number I use is 10. Until you've found 10 people that concur, you probably don't have validation for a particular set of jobs that you think you might have a value proposition that you could deliver that would be exciting. So I use that number 10, and it's hard work.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. A great example from your class is the Metrics Hub group. Here you've got 3 guys who hardcore developers who literally left Microsoft the day before the Accelerator started.
Yeah.
Come into the Accelerator on day 1, and they are ready to code. It's like, we know what we're going to build. We know what the problem is. We're ready to go. And fortunately, they were really smart guys, and they were open to learning.
Yeah.
And part of the process that they needed to go through was some customer discovery to go actually talk to customers who they thought might buy the thing they were going to build. And I'll tell you, 2 weeks into the program, they were so depressed one night. They came in, and Dave, we're just really we're down because the thing we thought people were going to be excited about, no one really cares about.
Right.
Like, okay, I hear you. Just keep talking, keep asking, keep looking at jobs people are trying to accomplish. Look for those pain points. And a couple weeks later, they came back. The smile was back on their faces, and they said, we think we know what we need to do.
Yeah.
And a month later, they had a working prototype that had 100 beta customers by the end of the program.
That's awesome. So the lesson is talk to customers. Whether you're a founder or you're a marketer, you're looking for the right language, always be talking to customers. It's not just early on, it's all the time. And if you're looking for customers to talk to, try Socedo. www.socedo.com will help you find your audience and connect with them. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you the next time.